When my millionaire wife said she was inviting her ex-husband to my sister's wedding, I smiled and agreed. Then I quietly invited his wife. By the end of the rehearsal dinner, the photos and whispers taught my wife a lesson she never saw coming. When my wife's ex-husband walked through our front door carrying an overnight bag, I knew I should say something. Instead, I just stood there holding a spatula, watching Natasha kiss his cheek like it was the most natural thing in the world. "Julian needs a place to crash," she explained, already heading to the guest room. "The Ritz screwed up his reservation. He's only in town for the weekend anyway. The same weekend as my sister's wedding rehearsal dinner. The same Julian who'd been her husband for 8 years before me. The same Julian who she'd sworn she barely spoke to anymore." My hands tightened around the spatula. Behind me, the bacon burned, filling our $2.3 million Buckhead home with smoke I didn't care about, because that overnight bag was Toomey, the exact brand Natasha had been researching online for weeks, and the cologne drifting from the foyer was the same scent I'd noticed on her coat last Thursday. "Babe," Natasha called from upstairs, "can you grab Julian a towel? The nice Egyptian cotton ones?" I set down the spatula very carefully. Then I texted the private investigator I'd hired 3 weeks ago. "He's here. In our house." Her reply came in seconds. "Perfect. Stay calm. I'm sending everything tonight. 4 years ago, I thought I'd won the lottery. Natasha Reeves, venture capital executive, Yale MBA, Forbes 30 under 30. She'd walked into my architecture firm for a consultation on her new office building, and by the second meeting, we were having dinner. By the 6th month, I was proposing on a beach in Santorini. Everyone said we were perfect together. Natasha with her designer wardrobe and C-suite confidence, me with my steady career and Midwestern charm. We complemented each other. She brought excitement. I brought stability. I renovated a historic Victorian in Ansley Park for us. Original crown molding, chef's kitchen, the works. She loved hosting dinner parties where everyone drank $300 bottles of wine and discussed market disruptions. I thought we were happy. The first crack appeared 3 months ago on a Tuesday night. I'd come home early from a site visit, shoulder aching from an old injury flaring up. The house was dark except for her office upstairs. I heard Natasha on the phone, her voice low and warm in a way I hadn't heard in months. "I know. I miss you too. Soon, I promise." When I pushed open the door, she startled, immediately switching to a cheerful tone. "Mom, I have to go. Ryan's home." But the call log on the screen, visible for just a second before she tilted the phone away, said JH, not Mom, Julian Harper. "Working late?" I'd asked casually. "Always. You know how VCs are." She'd kissed my cheek, but her perfume smelled different, sharper, expensive in a way her usual Chanel No. 5 wasn't. I let it go. She was under stress. Her firm was closing a major deal. I was being paranoid. Except then came the Thursday evening client dinner where she dressed like she was going to the Met Gala, the new gym membership across town at 6 a.m. on Saturdays, the sudden password on her phone after 4 years of leaving it face up on the counter, and the small details that didn't add up. The hotel receipt I found in her car from the Ritz in Miami, dated the same weekend she'd been at a women's founder retreat, the charge on our shared credit card from Preston's Steakhouse, $487 for 2. On a night she'd texted me she was grabbing takeout at the office. The way she'd started going to bed before me, her laptop always angled away, her shower routine suddenly including body scrub and perfume at 10 p.m. on a weeknight. By week 6, I couldn't sleep. By week 8, I was checking her location at 2 a.m. By week 10, I was doing something I'd never imagined. I hired Linda Chen, a private investigator recommended by a divorce attorney my college roommate knew. "I just need to know if I'm crazy," I'd told Linda in her cramped office indicator. Linda, 53 years old, former Atlanta PD detective with 26 years on the force, had looked at me with the kind of tired compassion that said she'd heard this story 1,000 times. "You're not crazy," she'd said, sliding a contract across her desk, "but you might not like what I find." Linda's first report arrived 48 hours later via encrypted email. Subject, Natasha Reeves. Surveillance date, Tuesday, May 14th, 9:47 p.m. Subject exited residence in Buckhead. 10:03 p.m. Subject arrived at Four Seasons Hotel Midtown. 10:11 p.m. Subject entered room 847. 10:14 p.m. Male subject identified as Julian Harper, age 42, entered same room. 12:34 a.m. Both subjects departed separately. Attached, 3 photographs. Natasha in her gym clothes, walking into a luxury hotel. Julian Harper, tall, silver at the temples, expensive watch glinting, entering the same hotel lobby 12 minutes later, both of them leaving past midnight, Natasha's hair down instead of in its usual post-workout ponytail. I sat in my home office staring at those photos until 4 a.m., my coffee going cold, my hands shaking so badly I had to set down my phone. The man I'd met exactly twice during our relationship, once at our engagement party where he'd made a polite host, once at a charity gala where he'd barely acknowledged me, had been sleeping with my wife in hotel rooms across Atlanta while I worked late on blueprints for other people's dream homes. I wanted to vomit. I wanted to scream. I wanted to pack a bag and disappear. Instead, I forwarded the email to a new folder labeled Evidence and went to work like nothing had changed. Because Linda had taught me something important in our first meeting. Anger is useless. Documentation is everything. The second report came on Thursday. Surveillance date, Thursday, May 16th. 8:15 p.m., subject arrived at Canoe Restaurant in Vinings. 8:17 p.m., male subject arrived, Julian Harper. 10:43 p.m., both departed in separate vehicles. 11:02 p.m., both arrived at St. Regis Hotel. 11:08 p.m., subject entered room 1244. 11:09 p.m., male subject entered same room. More photos, Natasha laughing over wine, Julian's hand covering hers across the table, both of them walking through a hotel lobby like they owned the place. The third report was worse. Linda had pulled credit card statements, cross-referencing Julian's business expenses with Natasha's calendar. March 8-10, Julian charged the Ritz Boston. Natasha posted Instagram stories from a founder conference in Boston. April 14-16, Julian expensed dinner at Prime 112 in Miami. Natasha attended her women's retreat in Miami. May 3-5, Julian stayed at the Grand Bohemian in Charleston. Natasha had a team off-site in Charleston. 12 trips in 6 months. 12 perfectly coordinated lies. They're not even trying to hide it, Linda had noted in her summary. This is chronic, planned, and ongoing. I printed everything. Bank statements, hotel receipts, photos, text message timestamps showing when Natasha claimed to be working late, but her phone pinged from hotel towers across the city. Then I did something Linda hadn't suggested. I looked up Julian Harper's personal life. Successful commercial real estate developer, net worth estimated at $47 million. Recently remarried 18 months ago to a woman named Kara, a pediatric oncologist at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. Her hospital staff profile was public. Dr. Kara Westfield Harper, MD, specializing in childhood leukemia. Awards for compassionate care. Warm smile in every photo. I found her work email within 20 minutes through the hospital directory. My message was simple. Your husband has been staying at hotels with my wife every Tuesday and Thursday for the past 6 months. Perhaps we should meet. She replied in 8 minutes. Coffee tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. I have questions. I didn't sleep that night. Natasha came home at 11:47 p.m., claiming her investor call ran late. She kissed my forehead, showered for 20 minutes, and fell asleep within seconds. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering how I'd become the kind of person who meets strange women in coffee shops to discuss mutual betrayal. Kara Westfield Harper arrived at the Starbucks in Virginia Highland, looking exactly like her photos, except exhausted. Her scrubs still had her hospital badge clipped on. Dark circles under her eyes suggested she'd been up all night, too. I came straight from a 12-hour shift, she said, sitting down without preamble. So let's not waste time. Show me what you have. I slid my tablet across the table. Linda's reports, photos, receipts. Kara scrolled through everything with the clinical detachment of someone used to delivering terrible diagnoses to parents. Her expression never changed until she reached the Charleston trip. I was in Charleston that weekend, she said quietly. Julian told me he was in Dallas. I surprised him by flying there for an anniversary weekend. He acted annoyed, said I was being clingy. Her hands tightened around her coffee cup. He was with her. I'm sorry. Don't be. She pulled out her own tablet. I've been collecting evidence too. I just didn't know who the other woman was until now. She showed me her findings. Julian's credit card statements. She had access as his spouse. Every hotel charge matched perfectly with Natasha's work trips. Cell phone records showing hundreds of calls and texts between two numbers. Julian's personal cell and an unknown number that, when I checked, matched Natasha's work phone. Calendar invites in Julian's email labeled JH Capital Meetings that corresponded exactly with Natasha's blocked-off time. Even receipts for jewelry purchased in March. A Cartier bracelet that Natasha had claimed was a gift from her firm for closing a major deal. They've been planning this, Kara said. Not just meeting up, planning. He's been shifting assets, opening new accounts. I think he's preparing to leave me. Natasha asked me to update our estate plan last month, I admitted. Said it was time to review our wills. Our attorney appointments are next week. We sat in silence, two strangers united by the methodical destruction of our marriages, by two people who were supposed to love us. My sister's wedding is this Saturday, I said finally. Rehearsal dinner, Friday night at the Capital City Club. Natasha insisted on inviting Julian because he's in town anyway for business. Kara's laugh was bitter. Of course she did. He told me he had a conference this weekend. San Francisco. What if he's not in San Francisco? I asked. What if you show up at the rehearsal dinner instead? Her eyes met mine. Sharp, calculating. Surgeon's eyes that had made thousands of life or death decisions. As your date? great, as my date. Will there be witnesses? About 70, including both our families, half of Atlanta's social elite, and my mother, who has never liked Natasha and would absolutely love to watch this unfold. Kara smiled for the first time. Text me the details. The rest of the week passed in surreal slow motion. Natasha worked late Tuesday and Thursday, or claimed to. I tracked her phone to the St. Regis both nights. Julian's credit card confirmed rooms on the same floor. Wednesday, I met with divorce attorney Margaret Donnelly, ranked top 5 in Georgia for high net worth cases. She reviewed my evidence with the enthusiasm of someone who knew she was about to win. This is airtight, Margaret said, making copies of everything. Georgia is a no-fault divorce state, but infidelity affects asset division and alimony. With this documentation, you'll come out very well. I don't want alimony, I said. I want her to lose everything she values. Her reputation? Exactly, Margaret smiled. Then a public exposure at a society event is far more effective than any courtroom. Just make sure you have witnesses and evidence readily available. Friday morning, Natasha emerged from our bedroom in a silk robe, already on her phone. What time should we leave for the rehearsal dinner? She asked absently. 6:30. We need to be there by 7. Julian's flying in this afternoon. I told him to meet us there. She finally looked up. You're okay with that, right? I know it's a little weird, but it's fine, I interrupted. Actually, I invited someone too. Even things out. Her perfect eyebrows rose. You invited someone? Who? A friend. You'll meet her tonight. Her? Something flickered in Natasha's expression. Suspicion? Concern? Anyone I know? Probably not. Her name's Kara. She's a pediatric oncologist. The color drained from Natasha's face so quickly I would have missed it if I hadn't been watching carefully. Kara, she repeated slowly. That's nice. Does she know Maya? Maya was my sister. Never met her, but I thought it would be good to bring a date since you're bringing Julian. I smiled. Fair is fair, right? Natasha stared at me for a long moment, her phone forgotten in her hand. Then she forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Right. Fair is fair. She disappeared into her closet, and I heard the unmistakable sound of frantic texting. I checked the camera I'd installed in her office 2 weeks ago, another gift from Linda's expertise. On the hidden feed, I watched Natasha, typing furiously. Ryan invited someone named Kara to dinner tonight, said she's a pediatric oncologist. Does your wife work in pediatrics? Julian's response came in seconds. Yes. Why? I think we have a problem. Perfect. The Capital City Club was everything my sister Maya had dreamed of. Crystal chandeliers, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, white tablecloths and roses everywhere. Her fiancé Brandon's family had insisted on hosting, which meant no expense was spared. I arrived at 6:45 p.m., 15 minutes early, and found Maya in the bridal suite having a minor panic attack. The centerpieces are wrong. Brandon's cousin brought her terrible children, and Mom won't stop crying, Maya said, hugging me. Please tell me tonight won't be a disaster. Tonight, I said carefully, is going to be memorable. Why do you sound ominous? Just trust me, and maybe have your phone ready to record around 7:30. Maya narrowed her eyes. Ryan, what did you do? Nothing yet, but Natasha might. Before she could interrogate me further, our mother appeared, already in tears. Oh, Ryan, your sister looks so beautiful. I can't believe she's getting married. It feels like yesterday. Mom, I hugged her. Save it for tomorrow. Tonight's just the rehearsal. Is Natasha here yet? On her way. Good. I need to talk to her about... Actually, Mom, Natasha and I might not be together much longer. My mother stopped crying instantly. What? I'll explain later, but tonight you're going to see something interesting. Just go with it, okay? And maybe don't defend Natasha if things get weird. My mother's eyes gleamed with an interest I'd never seen before. She'd never liked Natasha. Too polished, too perfect, too clearly from a different world than our suburban Illinois roots. How weird. Very weird. I'm getting champagne first, she announced, disappearing into the crowd. Guests began arriving. Brandon's corporate lawyer parents, Maya's college roommates, aunts and uncles I'd only seen at funerals and Christmas. At 7:15 p.m., Natasha swept in wearing an emerald Gucci dress that probably cost more than Maya's wedding dress. She looked stunning, confident, untouchable. This is beautiful, she announced, kissing Maya's cheek. You're going to have the perfect wedding. Thanks for coming, Maya said, her eyes flicking to me with a question I didn't answer. Then, at 7:23 p.m., Julian Harper arrived, tall, silver at the temples, Rolex glinting, the kind of man who commanded attention just by existing. He worked the room like a politician, shaking hands, making small talk, being charming in that effortless way wealthy people master. His hand kept finding the small of Natasha's back. Her laugh was too bright, too familiar. My mother noticed. Isn't that Natasha's ex-husband? Yes, I said loudly enough for nearby tables to hear. She insisted he come. Old friends, you know. That's inappropriate, Aunt Linda muttered, already pulling out her phone. Maya appeared at my elbow. Ryan, this is really weird. Just wait, I said. At exactly 7:30 p.m., Kara Westfield Harper walked through the doors. She'd traded her scrubs for a navy dress that made her look powerful and professional. Her dark hair was pulled back, no jewelry except simple pearl earrings. She looked like exactly what she was, a doctor who saved children's lives and didn't have time for anyone's bullshot. The room didn't quiet immediately, but I watched the moment Natasha's champagne glass stopped halfway to her lips. Then, the moment Julian went pale. I stood up, walking across the room to take Kara's hand. Everyone, this is Dr. Kara Westfield Harper. She's a pediatric oncologist at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. I turned to face the room. She's also my date for the weekend. Natasha's champagne sloshed over the rim of her glass. Julian found his voice first. Kara, what are you doing here? I was invited, she said calmly. Ryan asked me to accompany him to his sister's wedding events. Since you were supposedly in San Francisco for a conference, I thought, why not? The room went silent. Maya's mouth hung open. Brandon's mother clutched her pearls, literally clutched the actual pearls around her neck. This is inappropriate, Julian started. Is it? I interrupted, pulling out my phone. Because you brought my wife to my sister's rehearsal dinner. I brought yours. Seems fair to me. Your wife? Brandon's father, a former federal prosecutor, leaned forward with sudden interest. That's right. I turned to Kara. Dr. Westfield Harper, would you mind sharing what you discovered about your husband's recent business trips? Kara pulled out her tablet with the smooth efficiency of someone presenting case studies to medical students. Of course, she connected to the venue's display screen. Maya had set it up earlier for the slideshow of childhood photos. Now it showed Julian's credit card statements, line by line, hotel by hotel, charge by charge. The Ritz in Miami, $2,147.63 on March 10th. The Four Seasons in Boston, $3,102.88 on April 15th. The St. Regis in Charleston, $2,654.19 on May 4th. Each of these hotels corresponds with my husband's supposed business trips, Kara explained in her doctor voice, calm and clinical. However, cellular records show his phone was sharing location data with another device. This device. She pulled up cell phone records showing two numbers, Julian's and Natasha's, pinging from the same towers, the same locations, at the same times, over and over. The room erupted in gasps and whispers. This can't be, Natasha started. There's more, I said, taking out my own tablet. Linda Chen, private investigator, former Atlanta PD detective, conducted surveillance over the past 3 weeks. I pulled up Linda's photos. High resolution, time-stamped, damning. Natasha entering the Four Seasons at 10:03 p.m. on Tuesday, May 14th. Julian entering at 10:14 p.m., both leaving at 12:34 a.m. Natasha entering the St. Regis at 11:08 p.m. on Thursday, May 16th. Julian entering at 11:09 p.m. Another photo, Natasha and Julian at Canoe Restaurant, his hand covering hers across the table, wine glasses glinting in candlelight. Another, both of them in the lobby of the Grand Bohemian, Natasha's hair down, Julian's hand on her waist. Another, Natasha wearing a Cartier bracelet, receipt attached, purchased by Julian for $8,400 on March 18th. My aunt gasped. Oh my God! My mother's hand flew to her mouth, but I saw the satisfaction in her eyes. Maya just stared, her phone indeed recording everything. Natasha stood up, her face flushed. How dare you ambush us like this? Ambush you? I laughed, and it sounded foreign even to my own ears. You invited your affair partner to my sister's wedding rehearsal dinner. You've been sleeping with him in hotels across 3 states for 6 months. You've spent thousands of dollars, some of it from our joint account, on a relationship you thought I was too stupid to notice. I raised my champagne glass. I just made sure everyone who matters could see the truth at the same time. The room was dead silent, except for the sound of phones coming out. At least 20 people were recording now. Julian grabbed Natasha's arm. We're leaving. Yes, Kara said, her doctor voice never wavering. You are. And just so we're clear, my divorce attorney, Paul Montgomery at Troutman Pepper, will be filing paperwork Monday morning, along with evidence of asset hiding, which he's already reviewed. Georgia is very interested in spouses who shift money before divorce proceedings. She smiled, and it was terrifying. Also, Julian, your partners at JH Capital Development might want to review their ethics policies. I believe sleeping with investors' wives and using company credit cards for personal affairs violates Section 4.3 of your partnership agreement. I have copies of everything. Julian's face went from pale to gray. And Natasha? I added. My attorney, Margaret Donnelly, that's Donnelly Family Law if anyone wants the referral, is already preparing the paperwork. The house is in my name, purchased before our marriage. The joint accounts will be frozen Monday. Your car is leased under the company I solely own. I took a sip of champagne, letting it settle. You'll want to find a hotel tonight. I'd recommend the Ritz, but I hear their reservation system is unreliable. Natasha's perfect composure cracked. Her hands shook. Her eyes filled with tears that I knew were for herself, not for us. Ryan, please, we can talk about this. Oh, "Oh, we'll talk," I said, "through attorneys, in court, where all of this evidence will be submitted as Exhibits A through M." Julian was already heading for the exit, his phone pressed to his ear. Natasha grabbed her Hermes bag, her designer heels clicking frantically on marble. As they reached the doors, Kara called out, "Julian, you're still invited to the wedding tomorrow. I'm sure everyone would love to see you." He disappeared without looking back. Natasha followed, and through the windows I watched them argue in the parking lot under harsh fluorescent lights, their perfect facade crumbling with every sharp gesture. The room exploded with whispers the second the doors closed. Maya grabbed my shoulder, her eyes wide. "Holy shit!" Brandon's father was already reviewing the photos on my tablet. "This is airtight. I know Margaret Donnelly. She's ruthless. You'll do very well in the divorce." My mother hugged me, actually hugged me, for the first time in years. "I never liked her." "I know, Mom." Kara sat down at our table, accepting a champagne glass from my Aunt Linda. "Well, that was therapeutic. For you, maybe," I said, but I was smiling. "I just nuked my marriage in front of 70 people. Your marriage was already nuked. You just chose the blast radius." Fair point. The rehearsal dinner continued, though nobody was paying attention to the speeches anymore. People kept coming up to our table, some to gossip, some to offer support, some to get Kara's card because having a doctor in the family is so useful. Brandon's mother cornered me near the bar. That took courage. Or stupidity. No, courage. She refilled my champagne. "My first husband cheated. I found out through his secretary. Spent 2 years in court battles. You did it right. Fast, public, documented. She'll never recover from this." She was right. By midnight, the photos were circulating through Atlanta's social networks. By morning, they'd be everywhere. Natasha Reeves, Forbes, 30 under 30, venture capital darling, caught in a months-long affair with her ex-husband. Julian Harper, commercial real estate magnate, exposed for using corporate resources for personal affairs. Both marriages destroyed, both reputations shattered. And me? I was the sympathetic victim who'd played it perfectly. Maya found me on the terrace around 10 p.m. after most guests had left. "You okay?" "Honestly, I don't know." I stared at the Atlanta skyline, the lights blurring together. 4 years, I really thought we were happy. You were happy. She wasn't. Maya leaned against the railing beside me. "That's not your fault. I should have seen it sooner." "Why? Because she's a good liar?" Maya shook her head. "Ryan, you're a good person. Good people don't expect the worst from the people they love. That's not a weakness. That's being human." Inside, I could hear Kara laughing with my mother, probably comparing notes on surgical techniques and failed marriages. "You think she'll be okay?" I asked. "Dr. Westfield Harper? She seems tougher than both of us combined." "Yeah, she does. What about you?" I thought about the house I'd renovated with my own hands, the breakfast nook where Natasha had announced Julian was coming to town, the guest room where his Toomey bag had sat, mocking me. I thought about the last 6 months, the late nights, the suspicions, the slow realization that the person I'd promised forever to was methodically destroying us. And I thought about tonight, the look on Julian's face when Kara walked in, the sound of Natasha's heels clicking frantically as she ran. "I'll be okay," I said finally. "Eventually." Maya squeezed my shoulder. "Good, because you're walking me down the aisle tomorrow, and I need you functional. Wouldn't miss it." "Oh, and Ryan?" She grinned. "Best rehearsal dinner ever." The wedding the next day was beautiful. Maya cried. Brandon cried. My mother cried. I walked my sister down the aisle and didn't think about Natasha once. Kara came as my +1 to the reception, and we spent most of the evening at the bar, trading war stories and lawyer referrals. "Paul thinks I'll get the Buckhead condo and half his business assets," she said, swirling her whiskey. "Apparently cheating matters a lot when you're hiding money. Margaret says I'll keep the house and walk away clean. Natasha might owe me spousal support given the income disparity. The irony, right?" We clinked glasses, two people who'd been betrayed finding unlikely friendship in the wreckage. Around 11 p.m., my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "We need to talk. Please. Natasha." From a new phone, probably, since I'd blocked her old number. I showed Kara the message. What should I say? Nothing. That's what attorneys are for. I deleted the message and ordered another drink. 3 months later, both divorces were finalized. Kara got the condo, $8.3 million in assets, and full exposure of Julian's business practices that cost him 2 major partnerships. I got the house, my architecture firm, which Natasha had tried to claim as marital property, and enough settlement money that I could have retired at 42. Instead, I took on a new project, designing a children's wing for the hospital where Kara worked. She consulted on the plans. We had coffee twice a week to review blueprints. Sometimes we talked about the divorce. Mostly we didn't. "You know what's funny?" Kara said one afternoon, reviewing the layout for the pediatric ICU. "I spent 10 years building a life with someone who was fundamentally dishonest. Now I spend more time with you, someone I met specifically because we were both being lied to, and it's the most honest relationship I've ever had. We're friends born from mutual betrayal. That's either really healthy or deeply messed up. Probably both." I smiled. "Yeah, probably both." 6 months after the rehearsal dinner, I ran into Natasha at a fundraiser I couldn't avoid. She'd lost weight. Her confidence had dimmed. The Gucci dress was gone, replaced by something off the rack. Ryan, she approached cautiously. Can we talk? Nothing to say. I'm sorry. I don't know what I was thinking. Julian and I, Natasha, I cut her off. I don't care. I haven't cared in months. You wanted him? You got him. Except you didn't, because he went back to his wife 2 months after your affair became public, right? I heard about that. Her face crumpled. That's not what happened. Sure it's not. I turned away. Good luck with everything. The firm let me go, she called after me. After the photos, they said I'd violated ethics policies. I paused, looked back. She was crying now, mascara running, the polished veneer completely shattered. I lost everything. My job, my reputation, my friends, all because you cheated on me for 6 months and got caught, I corrected. I didn't destroy your life, Natasha. I just made sure the right people knew the truth. I walked away and didn't look back, because sometimes the best revenge isn't elaborate schemes or dramatic confrontations. Sometimes it's just making sure that when someone destroys your life in private, they have to answer for it in public.